not the year of the quarterback. They were 6th in the top 12 last year. This is all about the defensive line, the running backs, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it still is the fascinating conversation. Everyone's talking about it. If Cam Ward goes 1, where does Shedeur go? Jaxson Dart's crawling up, creeping up. Awesome pro day for whatever it's worth. People who are in attendance, utterly blown away by him conducting it, his leadership, the way he handled it, his maturity, his arm, all those things. It's a pro day. Who cares?
Yeah. Love the player. Can't stand the pro day concepts.
But here's the other element. There's the secondary element, because there is Cam Ward, and there's always been this Ward-Shedeur conversation, and Jaxson Dart has crept up, as we see every year. There's always seems to be one or two that kind of creep up and bridge the gap.
Always.
Is Jaylen Milroe going to be QB4 in this class?
I think there's an excellent chance. An excellent chance. I mean, it's just a matter. I mean, I don't think he goes. I don't think there's any shot of him going in the first round.
No, I'm not talking about that. But I'm now talking about these combination picks, right? Where you don't get your guy, you opt out, if you will, for a bet.
So, yeah.
Because here's my thing. It lines up with our evaluations and our conversations with teams. I don't know a single person in the National Football League that doesn't have a higher grade on Abdul Carter and or Travis Hunter than they do. Should do. Two things can be true here. You can absolutely love Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter, but also really, really like Shedeur Sanders, but recognize the grade's not. So quarterback's more important, yes, but it's still a pass rusher, and it's still this generational talent that might do something nobody else has done. So, and FanDuel agrees. And every evaluator I talk to in the league agrees, like, yeah, I really like him. Varying degrees of, I do like him. Some are like, no, I think the gap, I've talked to people that I don't think the gap is huge between Ward and Shedeur, but I do recognize the gap. Others, yes, there are people out there I've spoken to that have him kind of a late first, early second type grade, but that always gets pushed up. So it all kind of falls in line. And then if you are a team like Cleveland or the Giants, or you are a team like Las Vegas with Tom Brady saying, I want to develop a quarterback.
Right.
I hate this process of bringing in a guy and throwing him in the fire. They don't know what they're doing. They're not being developed and taught a program and taught a system the way that they have to in the NFL at the college level. So you got Vegas at 37, right? I'm just looking at, and then you get New Orleans at 40. And so we've talked so much about, okay, well, they're looking at the second tier guys. Cleveland's put a lot of work in with the second tier guys. Colin Cowherd comes out with Jaylen Milroe. And this is why I think it's fascinating. Colin Cowherd comes out with Jaylen Milroe and says, I'm getting intel that Pittsburgh's absolutely in love with Jaylen Milroe and could take him at 21. Could take him at 21. Conceptually, I do. Well, tell me.
Right. Well, here's the thing. I'll just go with the negative first, right? Of all these teams that we're talking about, are you comfortable with Mason Rudolph being your starter if you're the Steelers? I think the other teams are in a little bit better position quarterback-wise in terms of playing a guy next year and developing a player. I think Pittsburgh really needs to find a starter, maybe more than those other teams that we're talking about.
I don't think there's how about this? Clip this off for later. You can make fun of me. I don't think there's a world out there in which Aaron Rodgers isn't the starting quarterback of the Steelers.
Isn't?
Yes.
Okay, isn't. Okay, good. That's okay. So now we're talking about Rodgers. We'll wait for that domino to fall, but let's just.
But even if not,
I love it. Then I love it. And here's a problem, right? I don't think that Milroe gets out of the second round. They don't have a second round pick. We mentioned that. So
why couldn't they trade back from 21?
Trade back, trade up, figure it out, man. Figure it out. And
they need a running back. You can move back, get Travion Henderson.
100%.
Pick up an additional second. Maneuver around.
Yes. If you can find the right partner.
But then Schefter comes out and sends an X post after Colin a couple days ago. Says, I'm hearing this. They love him. They could take him at 21. Schefter, I don't even think it was I think it was some interview he did. It was like, based off of all the information I'm getting from all over the place, I don't think, and I'm paraphrasing Adam. I'm sorry if I'm not, it's not the actual quote, but essentially,
no shot.
There's no chance he's going. The quarterback is going 21.
Saying.
And it wasn't Milroe. It was just a quarter that they're taking a quarterback at 21.
But think about Milroe in Pittsburgh. I just got to say this: like they've watched Lamar Jackson in Baltimore. They've had to watch that unfold, and all the criticism. I don't know if people remember this. I think most people do, to be honest with you. When Lamar came out of Louisville, it was this kid's not accurate enough. You know, all the polling and stuff that came out about maybe he's not a quarterback. All of the controversy and the criticisms about him, and they've watched him develop into an MVP quarterback. I mean, he is unreal. And if you could do that, and then also one of the things we love about Milroe, I know you talk about it all the time, is the deep ball. You just went out and got DK Metcalf. You want a quarterback that can get him the ball downfield? Jaylen Milroe can do that for you. He's a guy who can take the top off the coverage. I'm in love with that pick. The problem for me has always been, now that they don't have a second round pick, how do they get into a position to take him in the right area of the draft?
So sticking with the Milroe thing here, Cleveland general manager Andrew Berry came out and started talking about 4 quarterbacks that they've put their eyes on live, 3, and the 4th being Shedeur Sanders. I guess that they have a workout scheduled with him, and his pro day is coming up next week at Colorado. He mentioned 4 quarterbacks that they've narrowed it down to. So I was surprised he even gave that information. Tyler Shuck was not one of the 4. It was Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, Jaxson Dart, and Jaylen Milroe. You know who their offensive coordinator is?
Who's their offensive coordinator right now?
Tommy Rees, who was with Milroe at Alabama, had a better year with Milroe at Alabama than he had this past year with Kalen DeBoer and that offensive staff. Jordan Schultz comes out, insider, right? I don't have the quote here. I'm not looking to go into specifics, but there's a quote from an assistant general manager that he put out there. And I don't think he would put it out there if he was making it up. Talking about things that people are overlooking with Jaylen Milroe, and the criticism's been too harsh. Okay. But then there's what I see on tape.
Right.
And then there's also the conversations I'm having. What I've seen on tape, we just went into a long thing. If you didn't watch it, go back and check it out. It lives on the YouTube page and also on Spotify and anywhere else you get your podcast. We just recently, our most recent position group deep dive, quarterbacks. So I'm not going to bore people, and we got to get to defensive line today. But they also have this intel, and I keep a one sheet for all these players, the top players, and all the information. If I'm starting to hear quotes or different things as I have conversations with people. And in addition to, and yes, and part of my evaluation, everyone's evaluation, is beautiful deep ball. Great young man, beloved in Tuscaloosa. Like, good luck finding someone who doesn't like this human being. Smart kid, smart guy, smart, picks things up. Also, it doesn't take a super scout to figure out his 4.39 40 and what he does on tape, and just watch him against Georgia. The mobility is.
Supposedly he was weaving during the 40, by the way. Supposedly he was not straight down the line.
Perfect.
Insane.
But I also have all these quotes that fall in line, and I'm not going to get into everything, but I do want to share with you. And this goes in the category of it only takes one. But there are people out there who are like, no feel. No instincts as a passer. Great. There's some really bad tape.
It just is what it is.
These are quotes. Can't execute an offense. Some stories I was told about, like Kalen DeBoer and the staff, and the frustrations mounting throughout the season. You can almost see it on tape. Look great against Wisconsin at times. Great in the first half against Georgia. Frustrations of like calls going in, not the same play being run, or miscommunications, not understanding this read to that read, not knowing where to go with the football despite going. So there's a lot of those things. Also, no touch. He's inaccurate. Muscled up. I talked to you about Tim Tebow, Will Levis, Brady Quinn. So there's like this, but unlike Vince Young, he's got time.
Right.
Someone's going to draft him with time. No one's going to draft him with the expectation of putting him in like Vince Young was.
Right.
When he
Anthony
was
Richardson,
third overall pick. Anthony Richardson.
Yeah.
So he's going to have so I don't know. I also saw this. Matt Williams, by the way. That's where I got it from.
Old school.
Yeah.
Shout out Matt Williams.
Yeah, it's been a while. Our old buddy. Haven't talked to him in a while. But I was scrolling through some stuff on Milroe to see what anything else is out there, and he had a really interesting nugget. Throws between 5 and 25 yards downfield. His 48% accuracy rate is 5.5 percentage points worse than the next lowest quarterback, talking about Jaylen Milroe. While his 33.1 uncatchable rate is 3.8 percentage points worse than the next closest. So here's the deal. And just to kind of summarize it all, two things. First of all is I think it's going to be fascinating because there are some teams out there that love him, and there are a lot of teams out there that don't have the time or interest in developing it. There are teams out there that like Shedeur a lot and consider him a top 10 pick. There are other teams that view him as a second-round pick. We know Cam Ward's going 1. We know Jaxson Dart is rising, but you can't look at this board and say, oh, they're going to take, if he falls there, they're taking him. I can't pinpoint that right now. So it makes for a fascinating first night. And then whatever's left over, if Milroe's sitting there, Tyler Shuck's sitting there, which teams didn't get their guy in the first round? Does a Nick Caserio type move happen to try to get your Abdul Carter and your Shedeur Sanders, or your Travis Hunter and your Shedeur Sanders? We're setting up for something chaotic, and it's going to be a lot of fun. That's the first part. The second part with Jaylen Milroe specifically, and I want you to pay strict attention to what I say, because I choose my words carefully. As Dalton Russell says in Inside Man, pay strict attention to what I say because I choose my words carefully. Here are my words. It is very hard to ignore the imperfections on tape, and the evaluations are the evaluators are actually aware of every nuanced thing that happened in Tuscaloosa. Okay?
Interesting.
But it would also be ignorant not to acknowledge these special traits.
Right.
Ignorant. History tells you it would be ignorant, and you got to take chances. So, as Dalton Russell also says in Inside Man, therein, as the Bard would tell us, lies the rub. All right.
That's great.
Moving on.
I'm buying that lottery ticket in the second round, man. And also, I want a wild card team to come out of nowhere. I want another Atlanta situation. I want a team that we could not expect.
I think we could.
So do I.
I truly do.
And I want that. I don't want to blow up. I hope it's after I know how hard you work on that mock. So I hope it's after your mock gets blown up, because that's going to happen in the first 10 picks.
Oh, I don't care.
I know, but it would be awesome. Just it's chaos. I love that entertainment factor of a team that you don't, and I can't give you one, because if I did, that would defeat the purpose. Like, it's a team you don't expect, man. It's a team you don't see it coming. Could they just say, "Oh, Shedeur's here"? Well, our board is our board, and we have him at this point. We're taking him. It'd be interesting to see if that happens.
So I will never apologize for putting good content out there, and we've put amazing content out with the quarterbacks and the wide receivers and the tight ends and the running backs. I feel great about it, but I also recognize, and you watch tape and you learn from your mistakes, like it may be a little exhausting at times for some people.